So it's that's kind of the ripple where it's like, and also with dating, men are becoming more selective because there's a lot of these movements like red pill, MGTOW. Like MGTOW is basically men go their own way. Uh, what's the other one? The CIA movement, the stuff Kevin Samuels is doing, basically empowering men to get some dignity. Like,
I
and
like
stop.
that. That did you coin that, or is that something that you heard? Because I'm gonna use that from now on.
That's how I roll. That's what I believe in.
Is that did you coin that word, man?
I'm the first one I heard use it. So
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you know what? I'm gonna be the second one to use it because I got dignity myself.
yeah, man. Like, because the society's undervaluing the power of dick, and it's just like,
When someone says, "Man, Kimbro, you're a dick," I'm like, "That's right. I got dignity, brother."
yeah, man. It's so like what's going on is the men are starting to adapt, and they're like, you know what? We're not going on any more of these food excursions until you understand the things that I want. And if you can't fulfill these things that I want, I'm not dealing with you. Because there's starting to be a wave of women who are like supposedly successful, making high end money, some of them six figures, and, you know, having these like accomplishments.
You just did two air quotes.
I know, just for you, I'm doing a callback. Relax. Um, so they're doing so like they're doing all these things, right? And their biggest complaint is, I hate this dating scene. I feel like I have to do everything. There's men are trash these days. Men are not this. Men are terrible. My question would be, when have you ever heard men complain about the dating scene? Like publicly complain about the unfair balance, right? So now it's shifting to where men are being more selective. I think the numbers like for every one girl or for every one guy, there's like five girls or something like that. Something weird, like because there's so many women in the U.S. that dudes can be a little more selective, and it's just like if you're a millionaire or you make six figures and you're a high value male, you got options. So a lot of these broads who are making money don't bring much else to the table or can't duplicate what they're doing. And they think, like, the thing is, they don't understand men. So they keep thinking they know what we want and what we like. And I'm like, man, if you give a man three S's more times than not, he's going to be happy. And that's
And explain to the audience what the three S's are.
sex, sandwich, and silence. If you
Sex,
give,
sandwich, and silence. The SSS.
yeah, if you give men like those three things consistently, they'll be more willing to compromise with you. Things will go so much like it's not this list of 100 things that men want. Like most men don't even care that you got a doctorate. Like when women tell me that, I'm like, okay, like I can't fuck your doctorate. Like what are we talking about? Like I can't, I can't,
Can
like
I
I
eat?
can't.
Can I eat a sandwich off your doctorate?
Yeah, like
Well,
what
at
is
least
it?
the doctorate is silent.
Sometimes because they bring that up a lot. That's their
Their ace in the hole go to.
yeah. Well, I'm highly educated. I have my own doctorate. You know what else you have? No man paying you any attention later. You know, so it's that kind of dynamic. It's like they keep taking away our value. And I saw this on Kevin Samuels thing, and it was the way it was put made so much sense. This woman was like, "We don't need men. Women will be fine without men." And it was funny because watching the tape, I spoke out loud and said the same thing he said. He said bullshit at the same time. I was like, "Oh, that's perfect." And we went through the he went through the scenarios. He's like, ma'am, do you go to the grocery store? She's like, of course. And he was asking, like, do you know how to plant anything? Do you kill animals? Do you hunt? Do you know, have you ever grown anything? She was like, no, I just go to the grocery store. And he's like, well, man, that was built by men, facilitated by men, stocked up by men, and men made the things happen for you to be able to go to the grocery store.
So what did she say then?
Men. He said, listen, you said you don't need a man. There's no way you could go through your everyday life without enjoying the things that men have put in your world. If you took everything out that men have created, you'd be in a cave. That was my idea. That's what I came to. Like, women would be in caves. And I know that sounds whatever, but if you read history books and go through history, can you name two civilizations that women created and sustained? This is me waiting.
I
This
can't
is
think of
me
one.
waiting.
I
Oh,
can't think of one. You said
oh,
you're asking for.
there's Crete. Before the Greeks, there was the island of Crete and all that thing. They had kind of a matriarchal civilization going there, but it's nothing common.
Yeah, but what happened in Crete? Tell the viewers what happened in Crete.
Okay, what happened to Crete was that Santorini blew up, and that kind of erased them. That was a natural disaster got them.
Exactly. And then what happened after that natural disaster?
They basically scattered all those that survived, just ended up sort of scattering all over the Mediterranean and ended up part of other civilizations. They
And
did
couldn't
bring a level, their level of art and that sort of thing with them, but it just was just disaster. There's been but if you go back to what is that island? Malta.
Malta, yeah.
That's a place that's pretty much run by women, because they still ended up over the millennia with kind of a matriarchal layout, and in a way that as the population expands, the men tend to leave because the opportunity is low, but they're immensely wealthy because Malta's more or less the most private bank in the world. They don't pay any interest, but if you deposit your money there, there's no names, just numbers, and no questions asked. So no matter how terrible any of that stuff is, that's the bank. And some people that are naughty for other reasons also bank there. Like Mother Teresa. She got into trouble in New York because she and her order got into this thing of hoarding money. They didn't spend it. And so the next thing you know, the Security and Exchange Commission was leaning on her charity because they weren't spending the money, and they were bringing in $40 million a year, and the actual bank account broke $1 billion. That was
Wow.
back in the 80s, and somehow or other they did get the opportunity to get all that money out of the country,
Mother
and
Teresa
she
made
didn't
a
dare
billion
put it
dollars.
in Rome, and she didn't dare
Yeah. I was like,
put it
wow.
in India, because both of those places are
Religious.
very much understanding of religious manipulation. So it all ended up in Malta, where there's no questions asked, where they're probably still hoarding money, long after she's dead. That was her vice. She was a bad girl, but nobody noticed.
Wow.
Yeah. It's and with their civilization is not duplicated anywhere else.
Yeah,
They're
no,
big on import exports, banking, and industrialization, and they're a huge service country. They're
yeah,
big on service. So it's like
they're
it's like one of those things where it has to be obscure. Like if you
mhm.
ask 100 people, "Hey man, you know what's popping in Malta right now?" They're like, "What? Like shakes? Like old school shakes? Like what do you mean?" You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like it's
yeah,
one of those obscure type things, right?
yeah,
But even the building the civilization was done by men in terms
yeah,
of infrastructure and these things, right? So
yeah,
the point he was making, Kevin Samuels was making, like, and he said this isn't me, and I agree with it. He's like, you can only be a feminist in a first world country, and feminism only works in a first world country. Why is that, right? So they have all these rules that they can, or all these freedoms, they can just be liberated, do whatever, and complain about their situation. And they don't understand being able to complain about your situation and not be punished for it is a tremendous freedom. You know what I mean? So it's kind of one of those weird paradoxes that go along with that. So they were talking about the value of what men bring to the table, what we built, what we do, the aggression that we use to like protect women, the aggression and testosterone used to build civilizations, fend off enemies, and want to like advance society in so many ways, right? Um, so it's kind of like that. And that's where it's like at all levels, they try and tell you, you know, women are dominant. Like now there's a new thing coming out. Oh, women make the best bosses because women are the best at multitasking. Bullshit. And then they go down the list. Women are the best nurturers. Women are the best parents. Women are more easily to talk to, and they're better listeners. And I'm just like, man, okay. So this is where we are right now. The world, the new one, the future is feminine. The world will be better without men. I was just like, man, I don't know about that one. I can't co-sign that one. What do you think, Kimbro?
Oh,
You're muted.
Kimbro,
You're
there's
muted.
no noise coming out of you.
Unmute yourself. There you go.
Kimbro, you're muted.
Sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear
Keep
me
getting
now?
louder.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? I muted myself because Amanda called and she had a ticket issue for the festival, and I was trying to deal with it. So you caught me with my pants down in the conversation. Sorry about that.
Okay.
What was the question?
No, just what your thoughts were on this whole scenario of devaluing men and men aren't necessary and there's really no place for them.
Oh, I had a bunch of thoughts on. I was just waiting for my turn, and then right when Amanda called, I muted myself. But talk amongst yourself. Let me fix Amanda's ticket situation, and I'll come back with my thoughts.
So where you stand on this, Herb?
Well, like I'm old. I'm retired. I talk to women quite a bit, and I've never heard them complain at that level. I mean, this apartment house is a garden court, and they're out there and they have their kids and they dig around in the garden and they have various things going of their own. So there's chili peppers and all this stuff, and they just do it, and they talk about their kids, their garden, their cooking, and I also just talk about the nieces and nephews that I sort of brought up in the distant past, and tell them things about gardening and tell them things about cooking. And I'm a good cook, and so and and I, if they don't know about shopping in Armenian stores, I turn them on to that, because you go to shop in an Armenian store, there's stuff in there that's just like the sort of stuff your grandma would have bought. And so you and they and as far as all these processed meats and all the things that are not good for you, they got them, and they're way cheaper than the supermarket. So it's it's like both sides of this argument usually have something to do with people being unhappy, and you just try to not be unhappy.
Yeah. And well, like I said, most cases men just adapt to a situation, right?
Yeah.
In most cases, generally speaking, they just adapt. Where all the complaints are coming kind of from one side being extremely unhappy.
Yeah.
And I think it's because this one side lives in the world as they want it to be. So they're constantly frustrated versus just living in reality as it is.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think that's a huge issue that's like some of my friends, like female friends, tell me like what they want in a man. I want someone who's caring, compassionate, kind, loves to cuddle, loves to communicate, likes long walks, and can just be sometimes. And I also want a man that's rugged and rough and can protect me and is just very masculine, and he's not afraid to cry. And I'm like, yo, this is a long ass list, and it's amazingly contradictory. So it's almost like they want a woman that just can do manly shit, is what it seems like. And that's where the problems come. Like, you can't, it's like women are trying to turn men into women to make them the buddies, but then want the men to switch to being men when they want them to be men. And men aren't made that way. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. Did somebody's phone just go off again, or anyway? So it just like I said, it a lot of this stuff, the people who are doing most of the complaining are those that are unhappy, that are most unhappy on both sides. The worst thing on the men's side seems to be these these millennials who are utterly unsuccessful socially, and have decided that it's all women's fault, and they call it incels. And uh, and then on the other side, you got women that are unhappy with men, and one of the things that happens there is that they seem to hit this thing where they end up being surrounded by jerks. And there are a lot of men out there who are socially backward and who are an issue. And so between the two, you have people that do okay. And you try to
Can you
be,
define jerks?
huh?
Can you define jerks? What do you mean by jerks? Like,
Well, what you have are the ones who cannot seem to in social situations, they cannot seem to avoid getting angry, and they want to fight over stuff. And you see that sort of individual, even if you're driving around, the one that's that if you make a mistake, or even if you don't, when you're driving, you've got road rage around you, that kind of thing, that individual. And I actually have, I've known a few of those. I'm related to one of the worst, that, he hates me too. And so to and one of my sisters is married to him. And there's value issues there, in that she threw over um, every good guy that she ever dated, and we lost. Did we lose? Oh, we lost Ty. Oh, Kimbrough. No sound. Ah, there he is. Ty, you disappeared.
I know, I know, I know.
So, anyways, I've been around jerks. I had a generation of uncles who were all now
Okay, I'm
long
back.
and dead, who were all jerks. And what's interesting is that they all managed to marry, they all had kids, and they all had wives that had nothing good to say about them. And somehow
Check,
or
check.
other, the wives were generally correct. But
All
the other
right. Can
part
you
of
guys
it
hear
is,
me now?
in the wives, in a lot of their
Yeah.
own ways, reflected those husbands, and they were jerks too. It just, it works that way, and that's one of the ways of how couples stay married for a long time is that they become each other, and they can both be jerks.
All
Hmm.
right, I'm
Uh,
back. I had
think, uh,
to.
think Louisiana for a moment, and they were it. My dad and my uncle Mark were both pretty good guys, but they were done they were done in by addiction, alcohol and gambling and all that stuff. And so it's just the world's imperfect, people are imperfect, and this all this stuff one way or another seems to run down families too. So you just find who you love and you hope for the best.
All right, I'm back, guys. Sorry about that. I got tickets. People trying to get tickets for my event, and I had to kind of deal with that for a second.
Yeah.
But you wanted my take on your um, uh, like refresh the point that you were making real quick, so I can give my thoughts back around.
Uh, that men are losing value in this society. Men aren't a big part of this society, and some people are saying that men aren't really necessary. Men are the reason for all the negative things going on in Western society in terms of like war, depression, uh, stunting emotions, like all the isms and phobias pretty much stem from male behavior. That's what's being pushed, more or less, especially in California.
Well, I think it's one of those things. Be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. And you and I have had an argument, or not an argument, but a debate about all the different crazy laws that's going down feverishly in the LGBT community right now. And my take on that has always been, if the homophobic, fear mongering white males would just be cooler and give access to everyone, then there wouldn't be so much of a movement to make drastic changes that pushes the needle so far out of the middle that it becomes a ridiculous thing. I have the same point of view on this. I'm the first person to want women to have rights and to have access and to make money, but at the because they haven't gotten access to what they need to access, I think the knee jerk overreaction is what you're describing right now. And in doing that, they're experiencing a backlash in those efforts. And even though it's a man's world and they haven't recognized how to retool their strategy in a man's world, like women could get a lot done for their own cause if they figured out the three S's you just described. You can get a lot done as a woman if you kind of understand that. I know that sounds misogynist and it sounds chauvinistic, but it's very realistic. I have tried to explain to women a strategy that I think will help, and I've been attacked that why can't men just do it this way? Why can't they just do it our way? Like why do we have to do that? And I'm like, well, because you're trying to get your agenda on the map in a man's world, and I'm just telling you as a man, where you can start. Now, that's not to say how it will end, but at least I'm giving you a few clues on where to start because, coming the way that you're coming is a knee jerk overreaction. That's not only, it's not going to get what you want done, but it's going to create a complete and total juxtaposition in your own world that puts you in a crossfire. And now you're working against yourself, you're working against other women, and you're working against men, and you still haven't gotten what you need done. So there's like false sense of advancement and false sense of security. And black people have been a victim of that for years, where you protest, you get the attention of an issue, and then you don't follow up on it. But then LGBTQ comes in with the actual plan, hijacks your highlight, and then implements their agenda, and you still walk away with nothing. So I think it's just one of these situations where, you know, I empathize with a lot of your issues, as in women, but at the same time, wearing pussy hats and, you know, uh, yelling in a microphone off of a soapbox, but then having no real understanding of how to put a real strategy together on how you can work with real men, you kind of drop the ball there, and that's not a man's fault. That's more of a woman's fault. If you go into battle, you have to figure out, basically how to, get get a leg up on your enemy, and and until you figure that out, you're going to lose every battle, which means you're going to lose the war. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things that to kind of unpack with that because it's more or less like this. Like I said in the beginning, and I've said a few times, men assess the situation, adapt, and try and overcome. That's generally how it works. Women more or less wait for something to be built, then go into that building and demand that it change. Instead of, my thinking is, and I've told you this a lot, why not build your own? Like, imagine me coming to your house, you invite me over for dinner, and with the dinner, and I'm like, hey man, Kimbro, I appreciate you inviting me in here, but I hate your drapes. I hate your carpet. I hate this food. Your table choice sucks. Why does this place have a fireplace in California? It's stupid. What? You have a white fridge. You should have a black one. It's a tiny fridge. Get a bigger one. Like, how